Move over Chinese tourists. A new player is in town. There is a new force transforming the global tourism landscape, and it is arriving not in quiet ordered lines, but in a colorful, chaotic, and completely unforgettable tsunami of color, sound, and raw human energy. Indians are documenting their rise on the global stage with approximately $31.70 billion yearly. This marks the beginning of the Indian tourism era. And like every previous wave of first-time visitors, they will be amusing for some time, then hated, reviled, slightly misunderstood, and eventually accepted. This tourism embarrassment is the final stage of a developing economy, and India is ready to hit the stage just like its predecessors. And their story tells us something. Every nation looks awkward the first time they meet the world. So buckle up, because you are about to witness how a new generation is learning global travel in real time and how they're different from Chinese tourists. I just spent $400,000 traveling to 15 countries to figure out why Indian tourists are suddenly being rejected at borders everywhere, and what I discovered will shock you. But first, if this video gets 700,000 likes, I'm giving away $20,000 to help someone's family travel internationally for the first time. Drop your story in the comments. Let's go. The visa rejection crisis 2024 was a dramatic year for Indian tourists, where they went viral for all the wrong reasons. A record 30 million Indians traveled overseas that year, spending an average of 50 days abroad. While this surge is great news for Indians, it is rather concerning for the rest of the world. So they took one look at the incoming crowd and decided to slam the door shut. We are not talking about a few rejections, but a full-blown travel control. In the US, approximately 279,000 of the 679,000 Indian student visa applicants were turned down, representing a harsh 41% rejection rate. Hopeful, and you should reconsider if you believe that only applies to students. In recent years, 30% to 40% of Indian tourists have had their visas returned with the dreaded rejection stamp from their dream destination. The global visa officer appears to have developed a nervous twitch when they see an Indian passport. The United States is not the only country tightening its borders like a strict exam instructor. Europe has also joined the group. 1 in 6 Indian applications for Schengen visas was denied in 2024, and the numbers just rose in 2025. Japan has reduced Indian tourist visa acceptance by 40%. Even Dubai, the unofficial Indian extension campus, has demonstrated rigorous screening procedures. So what's going on? The passport explosion? Well, the passport power of India is getting out of hand. We are actually witnessing the shift in India's global presence. In the year 2000, a mere 5 million Indian citizens held a passport. That's less than 1% of the entire population. Today, however, that number has exploded to 80 million and is still rising. If you think about this for a moment, it is a whole nation of passport holders formed in a single generation, outnumbering Germany and the United Kingdom combined. This growth feels more like a passport Big Bang. In a few instances, they overstayed their visa. Some took things from their hotel rooms thinking everything is a free amenity. But it all comes from the pure inexperience of the few. For generations, traveling meant something completely different for the people in the region. It was a necessity. It was for survival, for family obligation, not for sipping tea while basking in the great Santorini sunshine. So when millions of families suddenly had disposable income in one of the world's fastest growing economies, they wanted to do what their ancestors couldn't. Much like the Chinese tourists, they wanted to see the world, maximize the experience, and make their family proud of their adventures. They made checklists of popular free places, took pictures for at least 2 generations, and gathered stories to share with their communities. The hygiene question. Okay, this next part will be sensitive. By now, we have all seen the disturbing videos all over the internet about how unhygienic India can be. There's trash everywhere. And that's just the beginning. Does that mean India struggles with cleanliness? Yes. Does that also mean they litter when abroad? Maybe sometimes, but not all and not always. India's cleanliness never really revolved around individuals, but around years of lack of proper systems in place. For decades, India operated under a government without proper public waste vision, rapid industrialization, and urban explosion. The young country is still learning civic sense and collective responsibility. Then came education growth. Swachh Bharat campaigns, rising middle-class pride, global exposure, and suddenly young Indians began demanding cleaner public areas and adopting better behaviors. It is a generation that is experiencing a civic transformation in real time. Some Indians abroad actively correct other Indians because deep down they love their country and hate their reputation being dragged due to some poor hygiene choices of a few. The stinky stereotype. This leads to one of the most agonizing and persistent stereotypes, the stinky Indians. This perception is typically the result of a perfect storm of variables. Diet comes first. Garlic, onion, asafoetida, and turmeric are all often used spices in Indian cuisine. These spices are secreted through pores, leaving a distinct lingering aroma that is unexpected and frequently criticized by nations with blander diets. Second, consider heat and infrastructure. Sweating is unavoidable in India's hot and humid atmosphere. When combined with occasional water shortages or outdated plumbing systems in some households, the starting point for combating body odor differs. Third, as already said, there is a hygiene clash. The traditional use of water rather than paper can occasionally leave restrooms and by extension the users with a damp mildew odor if the facilities are not equipped for it. India is slowly evolving and so are its people. Maybe hygiene is something that will take a little longer, but this may not be the biggest reason why they are so hated as a tourist group. The demographic event. You see, there are tourists, there are large tour groups, and then there are Indian tourists. They are more of a walking demographic event, giving an impression of relocation disguised as a vacation. Take any tourist hotspot, for example. You will see selfie sticks hoisted like a flag, aunties directing with the voice of a pirate captain, and at least 20 people competing to stand out in a bright-colored outfit. The sheer magnitude of Indian travel groups is impressive, and it's not their fault. After all, India is the world's most populous country, and more than 65% of the country is less than 35 years old. They are young and want to explore the world. In 2023, 27 million Indians traveled abroad, with the numbers predicted to double by 2030. And with the middle income class rising, everyone suddenly has the social pressure to travel around and meet their cousin living abroad. Sadly, these crowds bring a number of issues, such as overloading buses or elevators because all of the family members need to ride all at the same time. Noise complaints in hotels due to literally laughing out loud, among other issues. Sadly, some Indian travelers treat international locations as an extension of India. Just recently, a hotel noted how a group of Indian tourists were crowding into one room, laughing and talking like they were in their own living room, which can be largely expected when they are together with 5 people in a 2-person room. While it's impressive that they can feel so comfortable in a foreign land, it is also important to be mindful of local customs and the shared spaces of others. The volume problem: when foreigners travel to India, they get overwhelmed by the amount of noise people produce. The volume of regular people talking to each other is also surprising to many. But in India, it's a symphony of temples, street vendors, and the magic of life. When Indians are happy, they make sure the whole block can hear it, with bands and music. And when they are sad, well, let's do that even louder. And if you meet a friend in India and aren't loud about it, you are preparing to be kicked out of the group. Interestingly, in India, being loud is considered healthy. It's in their blood, in their mind, and even in their movies. So when Indians travel abroad, people suddenly expect them to be silent. That's like telling the Japanese to scream and dance in the middle of a train ride, or the Americans to know actual geography. Behavioral habits are free-flowing, especially if it's linked to cultural roots. Did you know being silent equals being suspicious in Indian culture? If you are too quiet, people will think something is wrong with you. Are you an introvert? You don't exist in India. The negotiation instinct, then comes the bargain. The instinct to negotiate is so hardwired in Indian brains that they even try to get discounts on fixed prices. In Indian math, from vegetables to real estate, everything is negotiable. The French shopkeeper, trusting in the sacredness of the posted price, will be welcomed by a smiling Indian uncle who sees the 20-euro Eiffel Tower keychain as less than a product with a price. For the uncle, it is a place to show off his art of negotiation, like the first bid in a lovely social transaction. But the negotiation doesn't end there. Once you've mastered bending prices, why not bend the rules too? Enter Jugaad. This is the art of creative improvisation, which involves bending hard structures to meet human needs. Rules are frequently interpreted as guidelines, a framework to be explored rather than mindlessly followed. So they'll try to bring enormous carry-ons on board planes, hoping to sweet-talk the ground crew. A do not enter rope will be viewed as a slight annoyance to be ducked beneath in order to get a better photo. They hold a sincere belief, and naively so, that all systems are intrinsically adaptable through personal connection. The vegetarian quest. Another hard behavioral habit is the need to find vegetarian dishes. Indian tourists would enter a steak restaurant in Turkey and constantly ask about the vegetarian options. This annoys a lot of restaurants, and the Indians become unpleasant customers. Because in India, vegetarianism blends civilizational pride, religious duty, family tradition, digestive wisdom, and every now and then a touch of moral superiority, neatly packed in stainless steel tiffin boxes. But there's another reason behind it. Famine. Years and years of natural and man-made famine forced people to look for alternatives. Wasting food was a sin, and finding food other than green leaves was rare. The cultural muscle memory shaped by history, economy, and survival shaped Indians into who they are now. Personal space? What's that? Which brings us to the next point often highlighted about Indian tourists. Personal space in India is almost a non-existent concept. With a population of over 1.4 billion and urban centers like Mumbai and Delhi even exceeding 30,000 people per square kilometer, physical distance is only possible in theory. I'm sure you are familiar with this photo. Most places in India, including trains, markets, temples, wedding halls, and elevators, operate at maximum human density, with survival determined by location rather than civility. This influences their everyday choices and behaviors. Indians learn to flow through crowds like water, adapting, squeezing, shoving, and slipping between bodies with no offense or remorse. Anyone else will see it as rudeness. But for them, it is a set of crowd navigation skills developed out of need. When public life teaches people to seize opportunities fast. A seat on a train, a counter ticket, a spot in a line, hesitating feels like inefficiency, not civility. So when Indian travelers arrive in Zurich, Toronto, or Kyoto, their instincts do not immediately turn off. They stand closer to the front of the line than locals would want. They move forward at airport counters. They tap someone on the shoulder instead of calling for polite distance. Westerners find this behavior annoying since their settings are designed around personal space. In the United States and Europe, the personal bubble spans from 18 inches to 4 feet, depending on the situation. Touching strangers, leaning in, or pushing ahead without verbal acknowledgement disturbs social expectations as well as physical comfort. The cue culture clash. There's also a variation in cue interpretation. In India, keeping one standing is the individual's responsibility. If someone cuts in front of you and you do not react, you will lose your spot. The opposite is true when traveling abroad. Lines are based on mutual trust. If someone breaks it, the whole structure feels violated. This distinction explains why an Indian calmly sliding into a gap, a natural reflex at home, can cause dissatisfaction in countries where even kindergarten students practice lining up in straight formation before break. Another factor to take notice of is proximity communication culture. You see, in India, collective closeness equals warmth. For example, leaning in while chatting indicates interest. This may break all the personal space rules in the rest of the world, but in India, it's curiosity for the other person. A light physical touch, such as a tap on the arm or leading someone through a crowd, indicates kindness rather than invasion. But imagine touching a stranger in the UK or moving to Japan or Scandinavia, where physical contact is discouraged by cultural norms and it is interpreted as aggressive or boundaryless. The bigger picture, despite all this, the problem is really that a few clueless travelers are still learning global manners. Yes, some countries dread Indian tourists just like they do with the Chinese. But in their own way, the chaos, the pushing, the endless selfies, they're simply the sounds of a civilization discovering the world for the first time. And India's population keeps growing along with its wallet. So if this video hits 700,000 likes, I'm giving away $20,000 to help a family travel internationally. Share your story below. Comment which country you think treats Indian tourists the worst. And subscribe, because we're investigating more cultural phenomena that nobody else will tell you about. The world is watching India's tourism revolution happen in real time. And honestly, it's just getting started. See you in the next one.